Well, good evening. I'm Bruce Hawley, president of the Circus Historical Society, and welcome to Circus History Live. Circus History Live is produced monthly by the CHS. Recordings of previous sessions are available on the Circus Historical Society YouTube channel. Tonight, we're very proud to have as our guest Ramon Vazquez, who is Chief Financial Officer and a director of Circus Vazquez and Flip Circus. And now, without further ado, here's the host of Circus History Live, CHS Vice President Chris Berry. Chris?
Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, Ramon, for joining us today. You know, circus history is made every day, and the opportunity that we have to sit down with people like Ramon Vazquez to talk about what's happening in the circus world today is always a wonderful experience. But I think it's really interesting to take a look at how this circus, his circus, and now there are two of them, have evolved over the past number of years since they started in 1969. So I'm going to show a brief video, which is now shown at the opening of every performance of Circus Vazquez, just so you can get an idea of exactly what you're missing if you haven't gone to see the circus itself. So without any further ado, Circus Vazquez.
Everything started with our parents at the end of the 60s in Mexico City. After touring the US for 20 years, our parents returned to Mexico and opened their own circus. They launched Circo Americano de los Hermanos Vazquez. Quite a mouthful. Starting small with a one-pole tent, an elephant, a clown, and a few performers, the circus began touring Mexico 5 years later. We strive to define our identity and deliver high-quality entertainment to our audiences. By the late 80s, we returned to Mexico City and launched a national TV campaign. The circus's fame skyrocketed as a result, and we rebranded as Circo Hermanos Vazquez, rising to become one of Mexico's top circuses. The next logical step was to expand into Central America. We toured Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. Now what? Our sights were set on the United States. We saw an opportunity to entertain Latino audiences in America. There was a clear demand for family-friendly entertainment in Spanish, and no one was filling that void. In 1993, we made our American debut in Texas. We then ventured to the West and across the country, performing in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Oregon, Washington, Illinois, Florida, Georgia, Washington, D.C., and finally, New York City. As the saying goes, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. So we asked ourselves, what's the ultimate challenge? Why limit ourselves to entertaining Latino audiences when we can entertain everyone in America? And so, Circus Vazquez was born. Today, Circus Vazquez is more than just a show. It's a dream realized. A dream that brings laughter, wonder, and joy to American families across the nation. We've scoured the globe, journeying countless miles to discover the most extraordinary performers from Europe, Africa, South America, and Asia. These talented individuals ignite our audience's hearts with awe-inspiring performances. We're honored to collaborate with world-class artists, renowned composers, choreographers, architects, lighting and video designers, and we're privileged to work alongside the legendary Joseph Buglio, director of the prestigious Cirque d'Hiver in Paris. who masterfully weaves together every element of our show. What started as a humble one pole, one elephant, one town circus has transformed into a traveling city. Our journey spans over 15,000 miles in 10 months, involving a caravan of 50-plus vehicles, 1,000 tires, and 3 million pounds of equipment. A community of over 200 people from 15 different countries comes together to bring this extraordinary spectacle to life. We are proud to share a circus with Hispanic roots that has evolved into an international sensation. Our ultimate reward is to entertain all families in America. Welcome to a world of wonder. Welcome to Circus Vazquez.
Wow. So as with everything that you do at Circus Vazquez, this is an amazing show. But Ramon, one of the things that I'm struck by whenever I hear stories about Circus Vazquez, whenever we see the performances that you do, are the 5 Ringling Brothers, the circus kings of 150 years ago. And there are so many similarities. One of the competitors of the Ringling Brothers said back in the day, it's not just that they're smart, there's so many of them. And that's kind of the same thing with the Vazquez, you and your 4 brothers. Tell me a little bit about the whole family tradition and your recollections from back in the day.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, for this invitation. First of all, I'm very honored to be here. I'm glad that we have so many people coming in, and thank you so much for inviting me. So I'm Ramon Vazquez. I'm one of the Vazquez brothers. The circus was initiated by my parents and my uncle Rafael. They were the original Vazquez brothers, my dad and my uncle Rafael. And then after 1 year of being together, they separated. And then what I remember they told me is that they only had like a tent and 1 elephant and 1 truck. And when they separated, they said, so what do you want to have? And my uncle said, I want to have the elephant because I can perform with the elephant. And my father stayed with the tent and the truck. And then the circus continued that way.
So this was basically in Mexico City at the time, right? Or you weren't really even traveling outside of the metropolitan area of Mexico City.
Yeah, it was in Mexico City, and probably the circus didn't travel outside Mexico for the first 4 years. And then after that, they started to tour a little bit around Mexico. The big break that my parents had is that there was a very good location in Mexico City that another circus family had controlled for years. And my father were able to secure this location for one time. And that is when the circus grew, because they had a successful 6-month run in this location. And then my father went to LA and secured the rights to present the Planet of the Apes in the circus. And that was a very successful thing also in the 70s. And then in the beginning of the 80s, or also at the end of the 70s, also my father secured the rights to present Star Wars. And that's when the circus started to tour the country, Mexico. Yeah.
So even today, you have these sort of big attractions outside of a traditional circus act. What you've done really is you've made this a truly family experience. And I think that's what really is what resonates with all of your audiences, reaching the family.
Yes. Today, maybe for the past 5 years, we decided to open our minds a little bit into having, yes, a traditional circus acts. However, we wanted to add more music, a little bit more like a concert. We wanted to add the screens on the back to present some video, good music, musicians. Actually, by design, we decided to play the music a little bit higher than usual, than the usual circus, because we thought that maybe some people would like to come and see circus act, but maybe other people would like to hear the music per se and enjoy the music as well, or enjoy the lights. So to make it a 360 experience, and
And
that's
the,
what we're trying to do today.
and the musicians are such an important part of your show. Both shows, you now you have two tours, not only Circus Vasquez but also the Flip Circus, and both of those shows have live musicians that sometimes play traditional circus music, which you definitely don't hear that often now in the United States.
Yes, and the musicians are a very, very important part of the show. We consider them as another performer, like another star of the show. And when we do surveys, they are always the number in the top three of what the people like in every city, the musicians. They are very important to us.
Now, this is something that your family has always done, the musical aspect of this, correct? I mean, it's an important part to your father and your mother have always wanted music, live music.
Yes, from Mexico, my father was the only circus for many, many years that had a live orchestra in the circus. So we brought that tradition when we came to the United States. At the very beginning, we couldn't afford to have musicians, but then later on, we started to have. We've been having musicians probably for the past 15 years now.
So this photograph here that I'm showing shows you. You're the small one there, right, in the front.
I am the the very first one.
But this is the family, your mother there at the end, correct?
Yes.
Aurora.
Yes.
And this is the family that came out of Mexico down through Central America and now exclusively in the United States. Tell me a little bit about those first tours. You as a child, I mean, remembering traveling not only throughout Mexico but also down into Central America and some of those other countries. And this was at a time when there was a lot of, there was warfare going on in places like El Salvador and Nicaragua.
Yes. What happened is that we started to grow up, me and my brothers, to become men. And then my father had this idea to open a second circus, a second unit, to start to sending us into that circus so we could start to learn, And so when we went to Central America, my father kept the circus in Mexico City, and we went to Central America with my brothers to tour there. And that was the idea. And it was some difficult years because at this time in Central America, they had some political trouble. And I remember one of my brothers was, for example, on the road in Nicaragua. He was driving a double trailer in the back, semi-trailer. His wife was pregnant. And then all the cars in front start to stop, and then all the cars start to make a U-turn and go back because they started to say that the guerrilla was coming down from the mountain, and it was a difficult situation. So my brother had to make a U-turn and go back with a big semi-trailer because of that, for safety. So it was a close call that time. But other than that, it was a nice tour. We learned a lot. We never came back again. We did it just once. And then because our side, like the video says, our idea was to come to America, to come to US. And we focus on that from then.
So, we think of Circus Vasquez, originally it was targeted to the Latin American audience, people who spoke Spanish. I think even your announcements were in Spanish at that time, but the circus has certainly evolved. Tell me a little bit about, when we see those pictures of you sitting in the boardroom, this is as much of a corporation as it is a family show. Tell me about how you talked about research earlier, how you knew where the audience was, and then going into places like New York City.
Yes. At the beginning, when we were performing for the Latino audiences, I could say it was much, much easier because in every city you have this area of the city that is a Latino area. And in every city, you have one network in TV that is very strong. So whatever you put in this network, every Latino is going to know that we are there. And for the 33 years that we've been in US, for 30 years, we did it for the Latino. I could say that we are well known in the Latino community, even in cities that we don't come for years. For example, in LA, Arizona, Phoenix. I've traveled actually personally for vacations, and sometimes they see the logo of the circus, even though you haven't come in 10 years, and oh, Circus Vazquez, they know us. They still remember the circus. But as you must know, in the big cities here in the United States, something could be happening in the city if in another ethnicity, let's say Latino, Chinese, and you might have no idea that it's happening. It's so big, the cities, and somehow so segregated that you don't realize the things that are happening in your own city with the other ethnicities. So you could be in Houston and a big event for the Chinese community could be happening and you don't know because they are announced it in Chinese per se, on the radio, TV. Well, that happened to us. We've been going to New York City since 2005, the first time. This year is going to be number
20
20.
years, hard to believe. 20 years.
Yes, and nobody who speaks English knew that we were coming. Now, if you speak to somebody who speaks Spanish in New York City, they know us very well. But nobody who speaks English knew that we were coming, Just a few people, maybe circus fans, they will know. Same thing happened in here in Dallas, per se. Right now, we decided to change our strategy and to start to do it for everyone in America. And when we did that, the first thing we had to do is change the locations where we were going to perform. Here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we've been coming also for 20 years, 25 years. And we changed our location to Frisco, Texas, where we are right now. And for the people in Frisco, they don't even know. It's like it's like we just came from Mexico, although we've been coming to this area for so many years. So we're starting from zero now. This is our third year doing it for the general market. And we're starting from zero for the people to get to know us now. And it's exciting. It's very exciting for me. It's very exciting for my brothers to see, how can I say it, Americans coming into it sounds weird because we're in America, but we were not used to have Americans coming into our show, and we're so excited about it, and everyone else.
When you look back on that 20 years since you first got to New York City, and the show is now, I guess about 56 years old. When you look back on it, the advance has always been such an important part of the success of any circus. Social media has allowed us to reach directly into, a target audience. Tell me a little bit about how important that is, especially as you're reaching new audiences when you go into a place like Frisco. How do you let them know you're in town?
Well, that's the most difficult thing to do, the most difficult challenge we've been having since we decided to do it for the general market. Because like I said, when we were doing it for the Hispanic market, was much easier because you will go to the Univision network, which is the top network in Spanish, and everybody knows that you're there. But in English, you have it CBS, NBC, ABC, Fox, and then all of the other cable channels. And same thing with the radio. With the Hispanic market, you have the number one radio, number two, and that's it. But in English, you have 25 radio stations, and there's not enough budget that you can cover all of the media that you need to. And like you said, the digital media, Facebook, Instagram, Google, has been a great help because you can target it and to the people that you want to come. But it's still a challenge for us every year. Right now, it's a big challenge too. for everybody, let them know that we are here.
And media is very expensive also to, you want to make sure that you put it into the right place. Speaking of expenses, I mean, we have seen even over the past year, tremendous costs in things like gasoline, diesel fuel, the things that really run your circus, but still you are able to keep it a family-friendly ticket price too. That must be somewhat of a challenge.
Yeah, that's the other challenge. We have 25 semi-trailers that travel with the circus, plus another probably 20 RVs. So every time that we move, it's a big expense to us. And like you said, with the fuel so expensive, well, we try to do miracles, you know. Sometimes the most money that we invest is in the show, in the performers, to bring good acts from different parts of the world. And then we try to be very, very efficient with the expenses that we have all around the circus. For example, in this circus at showtime, you will not see one single person that is not doing something working. The wife of the performer, their older kids, there's the sister, everybody who travels in the circus does something. And that helps us a lot. Because if we will have to hire local people to go to the box office, to the entrance, to be the ushers, the expense will go higher. But when we hire their own people that is traveling with us, even if the intention when they came here was not to perform or something or to work, I mean, that helps us a lot because everybody who travels in a circus, we have to provide living quarters. So it's not only the expense, the salaries, but their living quarters. Some of them, they have their own living quarters, but because most of our performers come from different parts of the world, they don't have an RV here, and it's not costly for them to have an RV just for one season. So we have to give them living quarters, and that's big expense to us. So when they said, "Hey, it's gonna be me performing, but I'm gonna come with my wife and my two kids," and how old are your kids? Well, one is 15 and the other one is 17 or what? Okay, we might be able to hire them as well, you know, in all of those positions, and that help us sustain the circus in a way that we don't have to expend that much money.
You know, there's a long tradition in circus of families and large troops. It must be somewhat of a challenge bringing over at this time people with visas from other countries and things like that. But you're able to staff this with people from all over the world. Tell me a little bit about that process.
Yes, one of the advantages that we've had over the years is that because we come from Mexico, we still have a lot of connection with our country, Mexico, and some people that we bring come from Mexico, especially to set up the tent, to help us with the concessions. And that's because it's difficult to find people here that they want to be traveling and they want to set up the circus and tear it down until 3, 4 a.m. in the morning. Every year, actually by law, we are required to place an ad in the market saying that we need to hire people. And usually either nobody or just one person show up, you know, to do the job. And then once we explain them how it is, they don't want to do it. So we get a
Because
lot of
it's
help
hard work,
from
right?
Mexico. Yes, it's a lot of work. And not only us, most of the carnivals and some other shows, they also bring people from countries like Mexico or Central South America. Now, the performers, the visas, usually we've been having, usually it's okay, it's easy to do, but lately it's been difficult. This is the first time in 30 years, for example, that we got denied a couple of visas, one from an African troop that we were going to bring from Ethiopia. They all got denied. And two persons from China, also they got denied. I don't know why. That's not normal. I don't know if that has to be with the new administration or simply they change the rules or something, but we've been having a little trouble. I'm a little worried about, for this year, we're done. I'm worried about next year of what's going to happen, you know?
Sure. You know, the circus tent itself, the idea of a tented circus is something that everyone associates the traditional circus with. And you have a fabulous operation, both of your circuses, both Circus Vasquez and also Flip Circus. This is the inside of your big top. Tell me a little bit about this tent and how many people it seats.
It seats 1,900 people, close to 2,000. We decided to actually 10 years ago. This is the second tent that we do with the same design because we had to renew it. But the first one was 10 years ago, and we decided to integrate the lobby and the backstage in the same tent. That's why it looks so big, because just the center part of this of the tent is the actual show with the seating is rounded, but the two in the front and the back is the lobby and the backstage, so it gets elongated.
So where we are right now, we're kind of in the bandstand area, right? If we were, this photograph was taken.
Yes. Yeah. We are. The view right now is from the band.
Very good. Yeah, it's quite a setup, and again, very similar as the Flip Circus, although probably what, about half the size audience?
Yeah, exactly half the size of Flip Circus is exactly half the size. Now, Flip Circus, we are trying to keep it more traditional. Circus Vasquez, we want to make it a little bit more contemporary each time, you know. This year, for example, we removed like 200 seats from the sides of the curtain because we wanted to extend the stage to make it more like a concert. We still have very good circus acts for the circus lovers like me. However, we are extending the stage in the back to make it more like a concert, to give more exposure to the musicians. So we cut on the sides and make longer the stage.
And your band is, I know I recently saw the Flip Circus in New York, in Yonkers, New York, and your band leader, I think, is a violinist, right? It's
Yeah,
kind of non-traditional circus musicians, but boy, it sure sounds great.
this year included the violin, yes, in both shows.
So this is this shows you the overhead layout of the Flip Circus. Compact, fits right there on a I guess a shopping center parking lot or something like that. But quite a setup there. Anybody driving by would see it for sure.
Somehow we tried to make it as compact as we could, but it's still 13 semi-trailers.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of trailers that we have to take. This is the actual first year that picture is for the very first year of Flip Circus.
So you are watching Circus History Live. This is a monthly opportunity for us to get together and talk about the circuses of yesterday, today, and even tomorrow. And we're going to talk a little bit about the circus of tomorrow. Our guest is Ramon Vazquez. He is one of 5 brothers who have the Circus Vasquez and the Flip Circus, which are touring the United States right now. The circuses have been around since 1969 and have been a part of the metropolitan areas of the United States for over 20 years now. So Ramon, when you take a look at getting these acts, we were talking about them a little bit earlier, from all over the world, really, and the challenge, you know, people, they do have to work hard, they do have to rehearse. Where do you recruit them from? Do you use agents? Do you go out and go to circuses? And everyone knows who you are, but you must not know who everyone is who's out there, because there's always new acts, right?
Yes, of course. Usually we get a lot of videos, but it's not the same to see a video to see it than when you see it in person. So we tried as much as we can to travel at least once a year to see some of the best circuses that we consider, like Circini or Krone or Roncalli or we try to go to the Monte Carlo Festival or some other circus festival. Between me and my brothers, we share that responsibility, traveling here, traveling there, and see the acts, the ones that we feel that could be good for our show and that we can afford, because not every act we can afford.
Right.
And also we work with some agents, but most of the time when they offer us an act, we already seen it, we know what we're talking about.
So I want to talk a little bit about the festivals. Here in the United States, we have not traditionally had a lot of circus festivals. We kind of associate circus festivals with places like Monte Carlo and other parts of Europe, usually around Christmas time. But you were just a big part of a circus festival in the Dallas area. Tell us a little bit about that, and also, that opportunity to kind of judge some of the best in the circus business today.
Yes, here in Dallas, there is a circus called Lone Star Circus by Fanny and Mark Doyle. They've been doing, or they did in the past, like a festival, but most for kids. And like 3 years ago, they came to us and they said, "Hey, you're here at the time that we do our festival, and we would like to do it inside your tent. Can we do that?" And we said, not only yes, but we would like to help you. We would like to see if we can make it even bigger,
Mhm.
And so we did it the first time with them in our tent. And this is the third year. By now, we have created a nonprofit organization. We try to make it bigger. And instead of 1 day, we made it in 2 days. We invited big personalities of the circus to be part of the judges, like Sarah Davison from Ringling Brothers. She's the head scout from Ringling Brothers.
Yes.
Charlie from Cirque du Soleil, another scout from Cirque du Soleil. Mr. Nikulin from Russia, from the Moscow Circus. Regina Bouglione from Cirque d'Hiver in Paris. So, because if they come, then they'll see the talent that we have here in America. Otherwise, the talent that we have here, it will be so difficult for them to be seen by these people, We try to bring people that they can also hire acts, that they can take them from here over there. And we brought the producers from Circus Vargas, because they also hire people. And two agents from Europe that they place acts all over Europe. These agents, they have place acts in our own circus. So this is people that they have the power to take somebody and make him travel around the world. So we were very excited to have the festival this year again with all of those judges. And we invited some people from South America, from here, from US. And I think it was a successful festival. It is still growing. We need to pass the word a little bit more for people to come and help us. It's a big expense for Lone Star Circus and for Circus Vazquez that we're doing it together. But we're very proud of what we did this week with the festival. It was a successful festival.
It looked as though it was fantastic, and those who were there have reported very positive reviews. We are recording this at the end of March 2025, but later this year, there's going to be a festival in Las Vegas. Circus Historical Society, this will be in October. Circus Historical Society will be having our convention in Las Vegas at the same time as that festival, and I would encourage anyone who's able to watch this and maybe on the call today to join us. Speaking of those who are on the call today, this is an opportunity for you to ask questions for Ramon Vazquez. He's one of the 5 Vazquez brothers, the Hermanos Vazquez, who have 2 circuses that are touring the United States right now. If you go to your chat in the on the screen there, and if you have a question, just feel free to type it in, and we will see what Ramon has to say about it. But when I think about circus today and circus that you grew up on, there's been a lot of changes that have happened. Animals, I think, are one of the things. I know you had, back in the early days of the Hermanos Vazquez, or the Circo Vazquez in Mexico City, you had an elephant. We've seen activists and things like that Has that really changed the experience, do you think, for the circus goer? I know a lot of us grew up with that and we miss it, but the young kids, they haven't really experienced that, right?
Yes, I always think of those great performers that I've seen over my life or heard of them over my life. Human performers. Tito Gaona in the trapeze, Miguel Vazquez, and so many others that they perform in circuses. And somehow I think what it changed is for the audience to know that the circus is not only animals, it's also humans, you know, and humans are very talented. What happened is that we had animals for years. We have a lot of animals in Mexico, all kinds of animals. We also had a lot of animals here in US. We used to have tigers, elephants, camels, zebras, you name it. We had it at some point, and we love them. We love them because of the reaction of the people when they came into the show. You know, we kind of miss that reaction. Right
Yes.
now, at some point, in some cities, we have just one dog in the show right now, and the reaction is special. You know, people really love to see the dog in the show. But what happened is that the audience started to change their feelings about the animals. So maybe 30, 40 years ago, 99% of the people love to see animals in the circus, and then 20 years ago, it changed to 80% of the people would like to see the animals in the circus, and 20% not so much. And then 10 years ago, it came to maybe 60-40, 60% would like to see the animals and 40 no. And then today, it started to become more like 50-50, or even the other way, 60-40, like 60% of the people didn't like to have the animals in 40 yes. So we needed to listen to what the audience was saying and go with it. And also the other thing that happened to us is that some of the places that we wanted to perform were close to us because we had animals. Like some of the malls, big, beautiful malls that we can bring the circus to have a better experience for the audience. If we had animals, they would not allow us to be there. If we had animals, we have to be in the outside of the city, you know, farther for the audience to come over and see us. So although we love animals, we had to make the decision to go with the trend. And the trend is that the people every year less and less people wanted to have the animals. And also the locations, if we wanted to come into these locations, we had to sacrifice having the animals in the show. But it's a good opportunity because we had that question to this day every day, like, you don't have animals, then what you have? It's amazing to me that people think that the circus is just animals, you know? And what happened to Emmett Kelly, Lou Jacobs, and all of those great performers that we all know, is like if they were never existed. Now we say, well, come and see it. You know, we don't have animals, but we are humans, and we're here to entertain you. And they usually come out very happy to see the show.
Yeah, circus, I think, has always been made up of extraordinary people doing extraordinary things, and that's obviously continues with
Exactly.
your circuses. Question from Josh Avener had a question about basically, you know, you're a family. We talked about this a little bit earlier, making decisions. Tell me a little bit about how you divide up the work. I mean, I know that you're responsible for the money side, but you also have brothers who are responsible for routing and, you know, transportation and things like the performance. Tell me about your brothers.
To me, it's an advantage. I think if I would have more brothers, we would be more successful because we are able to divide the work in the family, especially the trusty work, the work that you cannot, is difficult for you to have somebody else to do because you don't have that trust, you know. But what it really helped us is like maybe 8 years ago, we decided to hire a coach, a company coach. And this company coach, they came in and they said, well, I can see you've been successful, but we're gonna try to get you to the next level. And the next level is to make our company a little bit less of a family and more of a corporation. And just to give you an example, what happened, just the very, very first example of when we had the coach is that they came and they sat with me first and they asked me, where do you see Circus Vazquez in the next 10 years? And I gave her, it's a lady, I gave her my explanation. And then she sat with each one of my brothers individually, and each one gave an answer. And then she sat us all together and she read all of our answers. And all of our answers were into different directions.
Very interesting.
Although we've been working together for years and years and years, everybody thought the circus in 10 years in a different way. So the first homework that we had, it was to align our vision of the five brothers into the future. What do we want to be the Circus Vazquez, you know? So this coaching, it had helped us tremendously into aligning not only the first, they aligned the brothers, and then we started to align the managers, and then the rest of the company. So everybody who works in this company knows what is the vision for Circus Vazquez. The vision for Circus Vazquez is to be the best circus in America. Now we know we are not, but that's where we want to be. And if everybody works in the same direction, we want to be the best circus in America, then we can get there faster. And just to finish with this point, that had helped us because, for example, some of our employees, when I make a decision of buying something, sometimes the employee said to me, well, Mr. Vazquez, you said you want to be the very first circus in America, and what you're buying, it doesn't align with your vision. So instead of buying C, you should buy A. So it's not only me, but now the rest of the company is pushing us to that direction, and not only us trying to take them. So coaching has been a great help to us.
Well, that's, I think, very important for a lot of family-owned businesses also, to realize that they have to work on the business instead of in the business, right? And so, were you a performer yourself?
Yes, when your parents are the owners of the circus, basically you have to do whatever it takes, whatever they tell you to do. So I've been a performer. I did many different things, but when you do many things and you don't specialize in one, you are bad at all of the others, you know. So I was not a good performer, but I did. I was a clown. I worked with the tigers, with the elephants. I did horseback riding. I did the wheel, trampoline, bars act, many things. All of them very bad done. I
But
wasn't that good.
the fact that you did those things also, if somebody comes to you and says they can't do it, and you know that they can, I think it's pretty telling, right?
That helps. Yeah, that helps a lot.
So, you talked about the brothers getting this coach involved, but you also have another generation of Vazquez coming up now.
Yes,
Your
that's a big
nephews,
challenge.
even Shirley Larible, David Larible's daughter, who now is the general manager of the Flip Circus. So there's another generation coming up. What's the future of Vazquez? Is it going to expand even more?
It's a big family. Now it's a bigger family with my nephews and my kids and everything. We're working very hard, first of all, with the coaching to transmit that into them, to be organized and to make it in a way that everybody feels welcome. I'm talking about my family, and everybody feels that they are important. But also we have a system that where they have to deserve it. It's not only just because you're Vasquez, you want to have a position. And you just said Shirley Larible, because I have nephews or nieces that are the same age of Shirley, and somehow Shirley is the general manager for Philip Circus because she deserved it, you know. So my kids, my nephews, they know that they have to deserve the position, and the coach help us with that, you know. It's not only about being family, it's about also working hard and getting the position.
It truly is. So when you look at the acts that are on your shows right now, we talked a little bit about the trend away from animal acts. What are some of the best acts that are being seen in circuses these days, and what are you looking for when you add something to the program?
Always try to find the wow factor, like something that people is going to say, you know, be impressed. Sometimes we can, sometimes we cannot. Sometimes we are excited when we bring one act and we are not so excited about this other act. And when we present them in the show, it turns out that it's the opposite of what we were thinking, because the reaction of the people is completely different than what we expected. But yes, there are acts in Europe that we've seen that we are so excited that we wished we could bring them. And what happened with good acts is that they are always busy. They are always working. You have to wait 1 or 2 years to bring them here because they are full of contracts. Like for example, I think Bruce was in Monte Carlo. I wasn't this year. I don't know if you were. This Chinese act where the bicycles and where the guy jumps on the heads of the. This is amazing. Something that we would love to have here. You know, hopefully one day we can afford to bring them because it's a big troop and it's difficult.
Yeah, the act that Ramon is referring to is a group of about, I think, 15 Chinese. It's a bicycle act. And at one point, they ride in a circle, and one guy jumps up and bounces across the heads of 15 people. It's a pretty amazing act. And I have a feeling we are going to see that in the United States before too long. You know, we talk a little bit about the cost of traveling and things like that. I was in Los Angeles this past week, and just a typical gas station, diesel fuel was over $6 a gallon. So when you're deciding your route, you have to take cost into effect like that too, right?
Absolutely. And we're changing our route because our route, when the route that we have right now, we've had it probably for 10 years with not major changes, because that route was designed to work with the Hispanic audience. But now that we work for everyone, our panorama opened a lot because we could be everywhere. Like, to give you an idea, in the past, we could not go to New Mexico because in New Mexico there is not a lot of Hispanic people, or we could not go to Colorado or some states in the middle because there is Hispanic people, but not enough for us to bring the tent, almost 2,000 people tent in Philip for a week, you know.
Yes.
But now that we work for everyone, we've been starting to change our route because now we can everywhere there is people that we can bring to the circus. But yes, the costs are important for us in the route that we have right now. The route, the northern states like New York, Connecticut, New Jersey are the ones that are more expensive,
of course, yes.
and difficult to be there. But we have to do it.
You know, being in the tented circus business is kind of like being in the real estate business. Location is so
Absolutely
important, right? And so visibility. New York City, I mean, even just finding a place where you can set up your tents and bring in your trucks must be very, very expensive, but yet you go back again and again and again, 20 years now.
Yes. And you just said the number one factor of success for also for any circus, this is not a secret or a surprise, is the location. Although we do a big effort to buy media, to do the digital campaigns on Facebook, Instagram, the day we set up the tent, that's when the sales start to go up because
Sure.
people saw it by the freeway. So location is very important for everyone. And yes, in New York, we were lucky to find a location by the City Field, and we are very, very close with them. They are very happy with us. We have a many years contract with them.
And that's
And
right there in Queens, right by where the New York Mets play. It's a great location.
exactly. And
Transportation.
also you have the subway right in the front door of the circus, basically. So which is the main transportation that they have there.
I want to go back to this tent a little bit because it is quite spectacular. The lighting is an amazing part of the performance. We talked about the music earlier, and the fact is, as our friend Paul Gutile said, it's as though there's 29 people in the band instead of maybe 7. But this tent itself, this is a Canobio tent, right? Made in Italy, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And kind of the best when it comes to circus tents today. But when you take a look at it, how long does this take to set up everything?
When we were ordering this tent with Canovio, he was the very first one to tell us, "You guys are crazy. How you gonna set up this big tent?" And I think we have a circus to the size of like one of Cirque du Soleil tents that they have. And I understand that Cirque du Soleil, when they move, they lose like maybe 10 days to almost 2 weeks every time they move. And our first challenge was we cannot afford to lose 10 days. We have to finish a Monday or a Sunday in a city and start Friday in the next city. Like, for example, right now, we're going to finish here today in Frisco, Texas. And we're going to start at hopefully 1,000 miles away from here in Gurney, Illinois on Friday. And
Amazing.
so that's 4 days. And out of those 4 days, we lose 2 days traveling, basically. So we were able to, that's my brother's work. For example, one of my brothers, he's in charge of that. And he's doing an amazing work with an amazing team of setting up the circus in 2 days. And actually, the first day, it takes them almost all day just to set up the water and electricity for all of the RVs. So it's a lot of work that we've done very fast. I'm very proud of the team that we have. Sometimes when we don't have to travel that much, then they even have a day off almost like the prior to the opening because they do it very fast.
It's amazing. Ramon Vazquez, I want to thank you again for a wonderful opportunity to join us here on Circus History Live. It's really been a delight to hear about how you and your brothers have, and your mother and father too, have created such an amazing circus for all of us to enjoy. Anyone who enjoys the circus today, you've got to see Circus Vazquez if you have not already. And I also want to just take this quick moment to congratulate you, your brothers, your mother, your father, as being 2025 Circus Ring of Fame inductees. It's just a terrific way for the hard work that all of you have put into this to be recognized by the circus industry and for posterity, really. So congratulations on that too. I'm going to hand it back over to you now, Bruce, and you can wrap it up with some final words.
If I may say something pretty quick.
Yes, sir.
More years of Circus Vazquez have been expended in US than in Mexico.
Very interesting.
So by now we are full, and we don't have a Circus Vazquez in Mexico anymore. So we are a proud US circus company, and we are very happy to be here, and we like everyone to come and visit us.
And I think that your goal of being the best circus in America is definitely attainable if you haven't achieved it already. Bruce?
Absolutely. And we're so glad you're here as well. And Ramon, it was an honor to have you as our guest tonight. And we learned so much about your family and your wonderful circuses. I just attended the American Circus Fest in Frisco, where Ramon is based right now this week. And the whole experience was outstanding. Beautifully done. As we talked about this earlier in the program, the live band, the lighting, the graphics, the setting was first class. And I've attended many of the festivals in Europe. It's world class. This is a terrific show. And as Chris mentioned earlier, the parallels between the Vasquez family and the Ringlings are right there. We'll be writing a book about this, reading in a book about this 20 years from now. It's exactly the same. But it really is. And it's the quality is there all the way around. I'd like to thank Ramon, of course, for being here, Chris for being our host, behind the scenes, Anya Norris, who does all of our social media, and she'll put this recording up on YouTube tomorrow. And I'd like to also thank all of you for attending this program. We are going to have our convention in Las Vegas. I just released the announcement for that about an hour ago to all of you who are members or subscribers to our group. And it's going to be in connection with a festival as well, the Vegas Variety Circus Fest. And many of the judges, jurors are the same people that were in Frisco this week. So it's a great experience for our members to not only learn about circus history, but also see how these festivals are evolving and providing the source of performers for shows throughout the United States and worldwide. So again, thank you so much for coming this evening. Chris, any final words?
Just thank you. Join the Circus Historical Society if you haven't already. Bandwagon is in the mail, and we'll see you down the road.
Yep. Ramon?
I'd like to send a special shout out to Mr. Wayne McCary that I see he's here, and our #1 fan, Paul, also. Thank you for for him to be our friend and everyone else. Thank you.
You're welcome. And he's talking about Paul Guthile, and many of you know Paul. And Paul, this day was with Circus Flip Circus in Paramus, New Jersey. So he is definitely the #1 fan. But thank
And
you,
my friend
everyone.
Josh Avener from Hideaway Circus too.
Josh Avener is here. There's lots of folks on here. This is a great group and a wonderful program. So good night, everyone. And as they say in the circus world, we'll see you down the road. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.